Hey y'all, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Good to see you again. I hope you're all well. Today on my bench I have something a little different for what I'm used to working on. This is a Toshiba receiver. This is an SA300 AM/FM stereo receiver. This is an older unit. It's not the greatest shape, but it caught my eye, and I'll tell you why it caught my eye. This is kind of unusual that it has the black aluminum face. Usually all the stereos of this time, they had the silver aluminum, and I kind of like it with the it's got a, I don't know if you can see that, it's got a bit of a blue hint on the display, the glass, and then it's got the black sharp contrast for the knobs and the buttons. I think it looks pretty good. It's a nice looking machine. I don't know about Toshiba. I know they roll their own semiconductors and other parts, but I'm sure this will be full of their own transistors and diodes. It's not without its faults. It's kind of beat up. The wooden case, you can see it's got took a big hit here, and there's a big chunk missing, about 1/4 inch by 6 inches long, and that's not that great. But this is a vinyl wrap, so I'm not going to cry over it. And the other corner is same thing. It's pretty much chewed up all the way along the back here, and the corners are rounded. You know, it's seen a lot of wear. The some of these knob skins are missing. These are aluminum skins, and there's 2 of those missing. I don't know if I can get those replaced. They're all loose. I know it might be a challenge getting these. And I think it's got a non-standard knob here. I think it was somebody lost a knob, and they put a non-standard knob on here. It doesn't match the rest of them. So those are the big downfalls for this one. Another thing that attracted me to it was the price. I got it at a really good price on eBay. Well, less than what I paid for shipping. Let's put it that way. Much less. And the previous owner or seller threw in this service data, but the way he printed it out, he's got 4 pages on one sheet here, and it's the font is so microscopic you can't even read it. Oh, if I put my glasses on, I can. But let's look at some of the specs on this. Let's see here. This doesn't have a long wave, does it? It says AM tuner section, long wave 145 to 360 kilohertz, medium wave 530 to 1605 kilohertz. Does it have a long wave scale? I don't see it in there. No, I don't think so. That wasn't big in North America. I know a lot of the European destined equipment had long wave bands put on them, like H.H. Scott did a lot of that, a few others, and it's very common to see a stereo receiver have shortwave bands in here, as well as the AM band, which is kind of cool, I think. Audio section, total IHF music power, 44 watts into 8 ohms, sorry, 43 watts into 4 ohms. I find that hard to believe. RMS continuous power, oh here we go, 14 watts times 2 into 8 ohms, 12 watts times 2 into 4 ohms. So it's not a very powerful amplifier. It's he's pushing 15 watts here. Frequency response 20 to 50k, plus minus 1 to 3 decibels. And yeah, it's got all the other specs. Yeah, this is not a multi-power source unit. Like, it doesn't run on, I think it's only the one. Okay, let's look at the features. Tone controls, bass treble. Actually, power off switch is integrated with the speaker switch. You got an A/B channel. You got got power off, A channel, off, and B channel. And then they got 2-channel, 4-channel here. This is not a 4-channel machine, so I guess they're switching both sets of speakers on in B position, I'm guessing. I don't know. What's on the back here? It's all stereo. Balance, volume. It's got a loudness button, stereo mono button, tape monitor, AM, FM mono, phono auxiliary selection switches there. It's pretty simple, basic tuning, and very stiff to turn. Definitely needs some lubrication. But, you know, look at that front. I think I like that. It's got a meter here hidden. It's got a scale that looks like it's backlit. We'll get into that. And it's got the faux wood wrap on it, vinyl wrap. Back panel, inputs for AM, FM, phono, auxiliary, and one tape loop. And then there's a DIN plug for your tape loop as well. I'm sure they're just piggybacking because there's no two switches. It's got another problem. It's missing a speaker connector. I'll have to look and see if I have these in red. I don't know if I do. Hopefully these ones look pretty bad. They're cracked. I don't know if that took a hit. These ones, the red ones, are all cracked. I don't know if you can see that on the. Let me zoom in. I don't know if you can see those cracks. Looks like they're ready to explode if I use them. But I don't know. We'll see what we can do about that. 1.5 amp fuse. That's probably for the entire unit. And it is a 1.5 amp and it is intact, so that's good. And one courtesy outlet, and that's it. So let's take the lid off and have a look inside before we power it up. I can tell just from looking at the side screws that somebody's been in here many times. The screws look kind of worn. So what's all going on here? Everything looks original. Looks like it's got original bulbs. All the fuses are there and intact. Oh, here's your voltage selector. There's a fuse here under here, but I can't see it. Everything looks good. Dial string. It's very stiff. Yeah, they got Toshiba chips in there. Toshiba transistors. There's two integrated circuits here. It looks like they're drivers for the power amplifier. You got your power amplifier here with your output transistors, and then there's two chips here that look like they're drivers. I hope those are intact because I'd have a problem finding those. I've never seen those before. Bunch of old caps and Marcon caps. A brand I've seen a lot of because, you know, they fail, I take them out. So everything looks good here. I'm going to pull off the bottom now and have a look at the bottom. Everything looks good. If I can get a date code on this somewhere. Let's pull off the bottom. And that exposes all the bottom of the PCB boards. It's a nice construction. It's well built. I like it. Well, let's hook up a pair of speakers and we'll see what kind of noise we can get out of this thing. And if anything. First, I'll just give you a tour of the insides. Got a 5-gang tuning capacitor there. 2 sections for AM, 3 sections for FM. Here's our FM front end. Everything's semi-shielded, which is alright. FM tuner. They put a lot of, looks like they put a lot of effort into the FM tuner and AM side of things here. This board here is a lighting board. There's 4 lamps, 1 for the meter and 3 for the front. And then over here we have a little bit of a power supply section. 1000 microfarad. I wonder if these are the output speaker capacitors. Transistors for both channels, and I don't know if you can see in there's a little chip. There's 2 chips. You can see it. They're TA7109Ps. I don't know what those are, but I'm sure they're some kind of a driver chip, audio frequency driver, amplifier. Voltage selection here. It's pretty simple. You pull this plug out and then align it with whichever voltage you want, depending on where you live. Let's put that back right on the 117 volt mark. I'm just there's a couple fuses here. They both look intact. This fuse here I can't see. Well, you can test it with a ohm meter. Our power switch right up front here on top. And our meter is mounted upside down. Hope that's fine. The dial string on this thing looks pretty complicated. It goes here, and then it does a little zigzag here. It's got a number of... Yeah, and then it goes over to this side and in, and then underneath. Okay, well let's have a pair of speakers hooked up and listen to it. Okay, I got speakers connected and we're plugged in. Turn it on the volume. Let's set this up for AM first. Turn it on. We got half our lights gone. We got 2 of the 4 are working. Dirty pot.
Choice. You put yourself in this predicament, and now Daryl's in charge.
The meter's working. I can see it, even though it's dark.
In many ways,
now people who might be HIV positive, they don't have to walk around with a badge.
I think speaker B puts both speakers maybe in series. I'm not sure.
Information should go to them. I'm not saying.
Okay, let's try FM. A little wire for antenna. FM. FM stereo's working. Getting the stereo light. In both channels, coming in clear.
The month of Rand. See your Rand dealer for details. A message from Canadian Blood Services.
Left.
Hundreds of patients in Canada are
Right.
awaiting life-saving stem cell matches, but less than 25% of them.
Sounds good. Let's turn the muting on. Where's the muting? There is no muting.
En el grupo A está México.
The yard, maybe it won't feel so bad.
Tuning meter's working.
Middays, company to
So it looks like we got a good runner here. It just needs lamps and maybe you know, some lubrication on the dial string, and probably just to check over the caps, because there's probably at that age where they're starting to fail. But I'm pleased to see it's working, and the other amplifier is working at least, which is good. There's even another fuse here on the display board, probably to protect the bulbs. So these lamps here are a wedge lamp, and they're in a socket. I'll pull it out here without breaking it. And these are a 6.3 volt quarter amp. These are Toshiba branded lamps, but I'm gonna buy these because I can get them for about $1 a piece, and I can just replace them all instead of trying to retrofit LEDs. I think this would be a easier solution for me anyways. I can just replace the lamps and continue on without doing any modifications. What I want to do here is I want to clean these 4 pots because the volume control was in bad shape. It didn't sound good. It was missing. There was spots where it was missing making contact. I think somebody must have sprayed in a cleaner once before and worked it in, but they didn't lubricate after when they finished. Anyways, what I want to do is I want to take out this board because there's no access to these pots from above. They're blocked in with these big capacitors, and they're just buried in there. I can barely see them. So I think the only way to do this is take the board out, take the entire this power amplifier and power supply board out, and deal with it as a unit. Plus there's capacitors in here I want to be able to verify they're working. And yeah, this is like a real nightmare because it looks like I need to remove the heatsink because that's what's blocking, it's just holding the whole thing in. Maybe not, maybe I can get it out without removing the heatsink, but I think it would be better if I took the heatsink off. These 4 transistors would need to come off because they're blocking the heatsink from being removed, which wouldn't be a bad idea because these 4 transistors have mica washers, but there's no heatsink compound on them. So I probably would remove those mica washers and replace them with sill pads just to get make sure there's good heat conduction. But my main concern is getting this out so I can service those pots, and then which is, I don't know, there's a couple of connectors here, 3 connectors, and then there's some soldered wires here. It shouldn't be bad to take out. I got the nuts off, but it looks like it has to come out from the top, and I'm not sure if there's enough room. I'm going to try it. Try it without removing the heatsink. Well, the heatsink has to come off anyway because I'm going to remove these transistors. So I'll figure something out here. I'm just showing you. Nice build quality on this thing. Toshiba rolled their own printed circuit boards, I can see. And they did a lot of stuff in-house. Doing their own thing. Okay, yeah, so it wasn't as bad as I first thought it would be. Just a matter of pulling the board back, up and back, and then just roll it out. There's only the 3 wires on this one side. There was a couple of ground wires I needed to disconnect, but we got it out now and I can full access to everything. Yeah, and I don't have to remove those transistors. I can just remove the screw, replace the pad, the insulator, and then put it back together. And I got full access here. I can check all these caps, make sure they're all good. Yeah, so it's looking good. Okay, I'll get out these pots, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, so I got the board out, and I see somebody's been in here with some shenanigans. I'm wondering, these pots, that one's original, that one's original, that one's original, this one is not. You look, the original factory soldering here, here, and here. Here it looks like a bodge job. Somebody went in there with an iron and made a mess. Not really a mess, but they looks like they soldered in a pot. There's rosin flux all around here. This is the only part of the board that has rosin flux, aside from this chip here. Maybe this chip's been replaced too. But look at this here. on this side. This is a tapped volume control, and those two taps have never been soldered to. And we have two wires here that go up, and they've obviously been removed from something because they're tinned on the ends here. So I think somebody replaced this pot, even though it's marked, has the same markings on the back and everything. You can see the markings on the back. It's got that the same. Looks like somebody went in here and replaced the volume pot a long time ago, and they didn't hook it up right, or they didn't finish the job. Anyways, but I'm just poking around here. I'm looking. There's a couple of caps here that are really weak ESR, so I'm probably going to be replacing them. These big tubular axial caps here. These are on the speaker outputs. They go between the quasi-complementary pair. Well, they're not complementary. The quasi-pair of output transistors and the speaker. These are speaker capacitors. But other than that, everything looks good. So I'm going to finish this board up and get it back together. Get the sill pads on those transistors, and then we'll put it back together. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm just pulling out the transistors now to change out these mica washers. Look how little heatsink compound they used on these transistors. And it's only on one side of the mica. The other side is clean, and that's the side of the transistor. So yeah, it's not very good. I thought Toshiba would be better than that, but anyways, I'm going to replace these with sill pads. I've done a partial recap on this. I started pulling capacitors out and testing them out of circuit, and it started to show their true colors. This this little capacitor ESR checker I use, this one here was I don't know if you've seen this one many times, sometimes on other channels too. This is a good meter, ESR and low ohms meter. It measures up to about 100 ohms. It's a good tool, but it has its limitations. All it does is it checks for ESR. It doesn't do anything else, and you have to pretty much know what the ESR should be. This chart is a good starter, but it's not always accurate, because I can take a capacitor and check it with this in circuit, and you'll say something like 6 ohms, and then when I put it on my other LCR bridge, the ESR can show up as like 16 or 20 ohms. So this is good for snooping out bad caps, but it's not good for making decisions on whether the cap should stay or not. I usually like to pull them out and check them for value and capacitance value and ESR outside of the circuit, and you get a better picture that way. I pulled out and tested the main filter cap. It's measuring about 2400. It's rated at 2200 at 50 volts. I'm going to leave it alone. It's got an ESR about 150 milliohms, or was it 50? No, it was 54 milliohms, I think. And I'm going to leave that alone. These 1000 mic capacitors, I'm going to leave those alone as well. Couple of 1 microfarad caps here. I'm going to replace them with film caps, but I'm waiting for my parts order to come in, and then I'll do that, and then I'll reassemble the board. 4 pots been cleaned and relubricated with deoxit. And as far as this goes, as soon as I get these sill pads in, this board will be done and it can go back in. I'm looking at caps here. Let me see if I can get you in. I'm looking at caps here in the tuner as well. I haven't changed any yet, but I'm going to pull out a few. I did some spot checking with my other meter and they all came out good. But I'm still a little concerned about the condition of these caps, considering these ones were bad too. So I still have to get in underneath here and clean all these switches. The construction of this thing isn't very good. Usually I just remove the front frame panel, like this piece of steel, that I just remove it, and then I have full access to the both boards and everything else. But this is welded. It's welded here in this corner, welded in this corner. It's welded here in the middle. There's a piece here that's welded. So yeah, this is not taking this one apart, that's for sure. The only way you can do it is take the board out, and I'm not taking the tuner out because I'd have to do with the dial string, and yeah, it looks like it would be quite a job. So what's next? Well, so like I said, I'm going to finish these sill pads, and then I'm going to do some spot checking on these caps, and everything's good there. I might leave that alone. Clean switches. What's next? And then I'm going to probably put this aside on a shelf because I'll be waiting for parts, because I need the lamps, and I'm going to replace the speaker connectors, and I still need some caps. So this will probably get shelved. You won't see it on the video, but I'll shelve this until my parts come in, and then I'll pick it up and continue. Alright, I'm back. So I spent a little money on this receiver. I bought some parts. What I got in here is 10 of the, you can't see through the bag, but 10 of the 6.3 volt incandescent lamps. That's for the display. I'm going to replace the output connectors for the speakers, and this is what I bought from GC Electronics. Should have shown you before I ripped the package up, but these are push button terminals for stereo amplifiers, and they have the spring-loaded receiver for loading a, put a thing in there. These ones, I'm going to take these out and replace them. This one's broken, obviously, but these ones, these red ones, they look like they're sun bleached, and I have a feeling they're going to not last too much longer. If the plastic is drying up and cracking, because I can see cracks all through the plastic, it's just a matter of time before the cap pops off and the spring falls out, and then we're back at square one again. So I'm just going to remove these two speaker outputs. I'm going to replace them both so they're both matching. Let's take this out. And as far as dimensions and whatnot, it should be fairly close. Does it look better like this, or does it look better like that? I don't know. But that's gonna take that place. Actually, it doesn't quite fit. I might have to do a little notching on the metal here to get the screws to work. But I think it's going to look a lot better once it's finished. I was thinking maybe, let me try. Let me get rid of this, and then I'll come back. So I was trying to see if I could fit this in from behind, and it won't quite fit through the slot. It's just a little bit, like a 1/2 millimeter. It looks like it would fit, but I'm not going to force it. I don't want to break anything. So it's just going to get mounted like this. Down a little bit, actually. It's just going to barely cover the old mounting screws, the holes for the mounting screws. This is actually, let's see here. Let's see. This is probably 1/4 inch wider, or shorter width than the old one. And it doesn't quite match up with the mounting holes. So I'm going to have to do a little cut on the steel and to make room for the hole for the screw, and then I will mount this, and I'll get both of them put on. I think having them point up rather than down is better. I'm really not too sure. I kind of like this better. So that's what we're going to go with, and get that wired in. All right, so I did a little bit of work here. I put the power amplifier and tone board back in because I finished working on it. I did replaced the micro washers with no heat grease on them. I replaced those with the sill pads. I replaced all of the smaller electrolytics on this board because once I started pulling caps out and testing them, they weren't passing. These bigger caps, these big caps here, these are the speaker output caps. They're 1000 microfarad and they test good. The main power filter capacitor is a 2200 and that tested good, so I left those alone. This is not a performance amplifier, so I'm not going to upgrade the power supply filter caps to give it a little more kick, because I don't know, it's kind of a silly thing. I don't know, maybe it's not, but this amplifier in this thing is not built for high power. So I got these lamps in. These are 6.3 volts. These are the wedge. They're called wedge base, and they just push in, kind of like an automotive lamp that you find in older cars. So I have to install these, and we'll get these put in. I'm going to change all 4 of them because 2 of them were still working, but you know, how much longer are they going to work? This way, if I got 4 brand new bulbs in there, they're going to be uniform brightness, and they're going to have more or less an equal life. Put these in. Now, I have to get this moved in here. This gets pushed on here, and this gets pushed on here. All right, so I have the amplifier board worked on. I do have the new speaker output jacks installed, and I have it wired in, so that's completed. This is completed. The bulbs are completed. The only thing left to do now is the tuner. There's 17 electrolytics in this tuner, and I have a feeling if I start pulling them out, testing them, they're going to be just like the audio board. They're going to be all over the place on their quality. So I think I'm just going to replace all these electrolytics as well. 17 of them, that's not that much. And then we'll be done with that. And then a matter of cleaning and just putting it back together. Looks like we're hitting the home line here, the home finish line. So I'll do that. I'll start on the capacitors, and then we'll get into some testing and see how this thing sounds after we did all the work. All right, so got the work done and back together. What I did since the last time I was filming was I recapped the tuner and went through there, and pretty much every cap I pulled out was failing or failed. So let's turn it on for the first time and see how it sounds. I guess I gotta plug it in first. That's a good start. Going on in the right channel. We got DC on the right channel. You can hear it on the balance. That's on auxiliary. Phono. Same thing. FM. Good, nothing on the, or it's quiet on the left channel, but the right channel's got DC, so we're gonna have to investigate that. Quite a bit of DC too. Let's see if we can tune in some stuff here. We're going FM auto. No AM and no FM. All right, so back to the drawing board, I guess, eh? We got a dud on our hands. It was working before. Oh, I wonder what I did wrong. Okay, so let's get the DC offset on this right channel fixed first. Let's shut this off. We'll have to get some voltmeters involved here. Okay, I think I found the problem. There's two connectors here that are identical. They have the same pin spacing and same number of pins. And I think I had them interchanged because there's really no marking on them to identify what is what. Even the board's not really marked for what wire is what wire. So I swapped the two plugs and let's put this back together. And let's power it on again one more time. Try it. Okay, so we got this. Turn this on. Now we got some AM working.
See there, like to me, after the Islanders went out, the
Okay,
was
so
the price.
AM's working. It's good. Let's get FM test. Okay, we're gonna switch to FM. Our FM stereo light is always on. That's not right. Tune a mono station. Seems the FM's working good. Okay.
Tu as mentionné le Brexit. Qu'est-ce que le Brexit, quel rôle il pourrait jouer dans ces émeutes?
Alors, le Brexit et surtout le protocole nord-irlandais, vous savez, cette clause du Brexit qui place
Left channel.
la frontière douanière en mer
Right.
d'Irlande, entre l'île de la Grande-Bretagne et l'île d'Irlande. Et cette frontière
Treble.
passe très mal pour la communauté unioniste, la communauté loyaliste,
Okay,
qui est
seems
très
to be working.
attachée à son appartenance à la couronne. Cicatrice, et eux le prennent.
Okay, so I guess now we could test out the power amplifier, make sure that's all working. So what I'll do is I'll hook it up for a power test and we'll do some look at some waveforms, make sure everything's good with this thing. All right, so just a little thing here. I want to mention I bought these speaker connectors at DigiKey, and I paid about $3.10 for each one of these packages. And I bought 10 because I never know, in the future I might need some more. And that gave me a bit of a discount, but $3.10, that's pretty reasonable for a part that's, you know, it's going to save you on this. I just want to take this out and show you. Quality on these is not bad. It is something that's made in China. It's just not marked. If I looked at the package maybe. But, you know, it's reasonable quality. It's not the best. But I also ordered these on AliExpress. And they came in today. I just want to compare them with the other ones. They look pretty similar, but they're different size. Okay, so this is AliExpress. These are $1.30 each, and I purchased 10 of these as well. Just looking to see, they look like the same manufacturer and everything, just a different size. They got the same, almost the same molding. This one's raised here, this one isn't. But it has almost identical. Maybe it's a ripoff. I don't know. But look at this. It's very, very similar. Now these are $1.30, these are $3.10, almost twice the price, but I think their quality is pretty similar. I don't know if there's a reason why I would use one over the other than the size, because look at them. They're both good. So yeah, AliExpress, $1.30 each. I'm sure if I shopped around, probably get a better price or maybe a discount if I bought volume. But yeah, this is, looks like it'd do the business. So if you have an amplifier or a receiver that has busted output terminals, you can get these. You can get these easily enough and replace them. This, like I said, this is probably the exact wrong size that I needed. This one barely covered the previous hole. This one probably wouldn't. But who knows? In another application, it might work good. All right, so I'm going to do a quick power test on this. Check out the amplifier, if it's working good or not. I got it all wired into my dummy load. Got it scoped, both channels, and I am monitoring the output on a true MS voltmeter, feeding at 1000 hertz tone. So let's turn this on. We need to get auxiliary. There we go. So let's switch the speakers over to the dummy load, and let's increase this a bit. It looks like our right channel, which is in the blue, let's see here, yeah, that is our right channel, is a little louder than the left. So I'm just going to keep going, and you get clipping right here on the right channel before the left channel. I'm going to back this off a little bit, and I am measuring the power output on the left channel. Still clipping. Turn it down a little more. What I'm getting is 9.27 volts RMS on the left channel. Let's check the right channel. It's a little higher. Yeah, we're getting 10.38 on the right channel. And I think I got this down below clipping. Right there. It's a little imbalance between the two. I'm not exactly sure why. The balance control is in its center position. You can see I hit the edge there. It drops. Got all new capacitors in the power amplifier, so, and there's really only 3 active components in each channel. There's the 2 output transistors, and then there's the driver chip. So, you know, if the signal balance going into the amplifier, it's got to be gain mismatch in one of those 2 chips, I believe. Let's see. I think they all have the same suffix. Yeah, they're -B. These little chips, these driver chips, come in 3 different classifications for gain, and I was reading in the service manual, you have to match with the original. If you're replacing one of these, you have to match it to the other one, but for whatever reason, we're getting more gain out of one channel than the other, but it's not a big deal. Letting this go for a while, full power. Not seeing a lot of power supply influence on the output here. I don't see any at all, actually. Usually you see some kind of a flutter, a 60 hertz flutter with, or 120 hertz flutter with the power supply, but this one you have nothing. I'm going to measure across these two output capacitors, and maybe one of them has got a little bit higher ESR than the other. Maybe that's the reason why we're getting an inconsistent reading here on both channels. I can do that right now. Do it without blowing up my not used to this new multimeter yet. So let's try this out. Can you see that? Alright, so let's measure across one capacitor here. I don't know which channel it is. I got an AC volts. Let's check this one. And it does not want to lock up. Let's check the other one. .32 volts across that capacitor. This channel. Doesn't want to read. Isn't that something, eh? I have to be careful here. There's 120 volts on the power switch right beside my hand here. I don't want to touch it. Just having a really hard time measuring the AC voltage across those caps. Let's check DC voltage. $17, and this one 17.6. They are DC blocking capacitors, so alright, so we've been on for about 5 minutes now. Things are starting to heat up here. I'm going to shut it down. I don't want to damage anything. I'm not seeing any way for the amplifier to compensate for thermal increases. It's got no method of feedback that I can see. Let's try some different frequencies. Let's try a 20 hertz signal. Okay, so we got 20 hertz. Our controls are set to the middle. Okay, so we got 20 hertz. Controls are set for normal. Let's turn this up. A little distortion. And we're at 7.7 volts RMS output, so beyond that it starts to distort. Okay, let's try higher frequency. Let's try 20 kilohertz. Okay, we got 20 kilohertz. Okay, we got 20 kilohertz. He's right there, it's clipping. And I got only about 8.7 volts RMS. Not too bad. This heatsink's getting quite warm. This aluminum plate that they folded into a heatsink is getting quite warm. It could use some better cooling, that's for sure. So I'm going to shut this off, let it cool, and wrap this up. I don't think there's anything more I need to do to this. It seems to be operating good. I just want to mention I did go in and do an alignment on the AM tuner, which was probably a waste of my time because I went through and did some tweaking and I couldn't make any improvements. It was already maxed out. And I was thinking of maybe doing the same thing for the FM, but I don't see a reason why. The FM's coming in fairly reasonable. I don't know if going through and tweaking it would make any difference. I kind of suspect it'd be just a repeat of what's been tuned on the AM, but it is working. Let's try it out here on the FM. Antenna. It's got good signal strength. Yeah, it's working, it's not too bad. So I'm going to wrap this up. And like I said, once again, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from this. Wasn't much to learn though. I didn't do much other than a recap. This, I'll show you right here all the caps that were changed. Every one of these, if you go through and test them on my tester, they're out of tolerance, they're high ESR, they're, it's just, and this is the entire receiver right here. I don't know, I didn't count them. Two of these 4 bulbs were burned out, and that one fuse there, that was my in my stupidity, I put my power supply across the lamps, and it was backfeeding power to the transformer, so that's what popped the fuse, so I had to replace that. Other than that, it's all done. And I'm going to put this into use. I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to see how it sounds. I think it's going to sound good. So we'll give it a test run, and we'll see how it sounds. All right, thanks for watching. Hey, welcome back. I know it hasn't, time hasn't gone for you, but it's gone for me. This, I'm going to tack this on the end of the video. This is about a month later. I've had this receiver sitting on my desk, test driving it, and it sounds pretty good. I like the sound from this. I like the styling, but it's developed a little bit of a fault, and it's a minor one. It's a minor annoyance. I'm having one of the channels drop out. It kind of fades away and comes back in, and I've tracked it down to this speaker switch. So let me demonstrate here if I can get it to do it. Feeding it 1000 hertz tone, and it happens mostly on the left channel. So let's go to the left, and if I wiggle this, it's not going to cut in and out for me because I want to demonstrate it. Let's try the right. The right's a little more behaved. Left again. But yeah, now it's going to make a fool out of me. So what I want to do is I want to revisit this, open this up and clean the switch one more time. And maybe even if it's a wafer switch, I think it is, I can't remember. If it is, maybe I'll bend the contacts a little better so they get better contact. This looks like it's a problem with design here. They have the power switch piggybacked on top of the speaker switch, and you're always cranking this on and off all day long. I turn this thing on maybe 3 or 4 times a day throughout the day as I'm listening to it, and when I'm not listening to it, I shut it off. And you know, it's a lot of wear on those contacts. So I think I'm gonna open this up and give this a good cleaning and see if we can bring that back. Okay, I think the best way to get at this switch is by removing it. So what I've done is I removed the front panel and remove the nut, and this should just slide right out. And it does. And yeah, the switch is showing quite a bit of oxidization. Let's give it a spray. Put the knob back on so it's easier to work. Okay, I think we're ready. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. Let's try cleaning this. Even look at that. Somebody wasn't doing a good job to begin with. Should have been done right the first time, right? Okay, let's give it another shot. These cheap cotton swabs you buy at the dollar store. They're great because you can get 1 billion of them for next to nothing, but they're disposable, but you got to fight with them sometimes. So, okay, I think I'm going to leave that. I don't want to get too aggressive in there and bend any leaves or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little deoxit. The red stuff is for switches and contacts. Put a little on this side, a little on this side. We'll try this. We need some over here. I think there's, well, there's right and left channel on this, so I think there's a wafer on this side and a wafer on this side. They're switches. Give that a working. So you just got to be careful you don't flex this too much. You don't want to break any wires off. And check and make sure that the deoxit has made it all the way across. I think it has. I'm just trying to see which contacts are which here. For the speaker A, I think we're good. Right there is speaker A. All right, I think you're good. Now, if it was a really bad switch, you could get in there, you need a magnifying glass, but you need to get in there and bend these leaves down just so they very slightly put a little bit more pressure on the disc in the center. Okay, let's put this back together and then we'll give her a shot. Alright, so we're back together again and give it one more test. I got it wired into the signal generator. Let's turn that on. And this is shut off. Connect that. Turn that on. Plug this in, and then we'll give it a shot. Left channel. Sounds good. Right channel. I'm not getting anything anymore. Sounds all right. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up, and yeah, like I said, this is a really nice little receiver. I enjoyed using it. It's got a nice, I like the black with the aluminum knobs. It really makes it pop. I'm still waiting on a couple of, I got a professional making me some caps for these ones that are missing here. Actually, I took one off and gave it to him as a sample, and he's going to make me a couple of these so that we'll have all of our knobs. And then this one kind of annoys me too. I could probably dig through my knob stash and find something that's aluminum and kind of matches, but it wouldn't be perfect. But I'll just leave this one on for now and call her a wrap. All right, thanks for watching, and call her a day today. Tomorrow will be something new. Talk to you later. Take care.